Hello and welcome to this exploring session, this first look exploring session, second session looking at the downfall of Robert, Earl of Huntington, afterward called Robin Hood of Merry Sherwood. Robin Hood is perhaps a better name for this play, just generally. Because, you know what, everyone knows where they are then, because, you know, it's about Robin Hood. It's quite Robin Hoody. There aren't that many, I don't think we're going to get many people through the doors to something called The Downfall of Robert, Earl of Huntington. It's not a very good title. Sticking with Robin Hood. So Robin Hood has so far been quite Robin Hoody. We've basically had the origin story has been established in the previous session. It was quite enjoyable. There was some good business. There was some good disguisings going on. And Prince John, I was actually pretty much on Prince John's side for a little while. I thought, it's not too bad. Then he got a bit murdery. And so maybe leaning away from that opinion. Anyway, we are going from what in our script we're calling Act 3. It's about a third of the way through the play. And we have this another wonderful assembled group of people to read through this text and find out how it functions. So today, reading first Collier, Robin, and briefly the Friar is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good, I'm a historian, and I'm in Hull.
Reading Prince John, and also going to be reading the Friar briefly, because we've sort of split the Friar between people, is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor currently sat in Bavaria where it's snowing and sunny at the same time.
Something is strange going on with the weather at the moment. Reading the Queen Mother, Eleanor, Much and a Servant today is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading, video is not on today, it's audio only, but I'm sure will be exciting anyway. Reading Chester, Widow and Friar Tuck today is...
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake, also in Germany, but not in Bavaria.
Reading Fitzwater, Scathlock, Doncaster and Herald is...
I am Lois Potter, retired academic in London.
Reading Salisbury and once again, Little John is...
Hi, I'm Eric and I am little.
Reading Ely, Scarlet, Serving Man and Leicester today is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
And reading second Collier, Matilda / Marian, depending on which way the wind is going to blow on this text. Jenny and also Warman is...
Briony, Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I hopefully will only be reading stage directions unless I've completely messed up this casting, in which case I may suddenly step in to read something random. It has been known. But we're going to dive into Act 3, Scene 1, as we've got it called. Enter Prince John and his lords with soldiers.
Now is the comet shot into the sea, or lies like slime upon the sullen earth? Come, he is dead, else should we hear of him.
I know not what to think herein, my lord.
Ely is not the man I took him for. I am afraid we shall have worse than he.
Why, good Fitzwater, whence doth spring your fear?
Him for his pride we justly have suppressed, but prouder climbers are about to rise.
Name them, Fitzwater. Know you any such?
Fitzwater means not anything, I know, for if he did, his tongue would tell his heart.
An argument of my free heart, my lord, that lets the world be witness of my thought. When I was taught, true dealing kept the school. Deeds were sworn partners with protesting words. We said and did. These say and never mean. This upstart protestation of no proof, this I beseech you, sir, accept my love, command me, use me. Oh, you are to blame that do neglect my everlasting zeal, my dear, my kind affect. When, God can tell, a sudden puff of wind, a lightning flash, a bubble on the stream doth longer dure than doth the purpose of their promised bide. A shame upon this peevish age, these crouching hypocrite dissembling times. Well, God rid the patrons of these crimes out of this land. I have an inward fear this ill, well-seeming sin will be bought dear.
My lord Fitzwater is inspired, I think.
Aye, with some devil, let the old fool dote.
Enter the Queen Mother, Chester, Sheriff of Kent, soldiers, etc.
From the pursuing of the hateful priest and bootless search of Ely are we come.
And welcome is your sacred majesty, and Chester, welcome too against your will.
Unwilling men come not without constraint, but uncompelled comes Chester to this place, telling thee, John, that thou art much to blame, to chase hence Ely, chancellor to the king, to set thy footsteps on the cloth of state, and seat thy body in thy brother's throne.
Who should succeed the brother but the brother?
If one were dead, one should succeed the other.
My son is king. My son then ought to reign.
One son is king. The state allows not twain.
The subjects many years the king have missed.
Subjects must not choose what king they list.
Richard hath conquered kingdoms in the east.
A sign he will not lose this in the west.
By Salisbury's honour I will follow John.
So Chester will, to shun commotion.
Why, John shall be but Richard's deputy.
To that Fitzwater gladly doth agree. And look to it, lady, mind King Richard's love, as you will answer it. Do the king no wrong.
Well said, old conscience. You keep still one song.
In your contentious humours, noble lords, peers, and upholders of the English state, John silent stood as one that did await what sentence ye determined for my life. But since you agree that I shall bear the weighty burthen of this kingdom state till the return of Richard our dread king, I do accept the charge, and thank you all that think me worthy of so great a place.
We all confirm you Richard's deputy.
How shall I play proud Chester?
Sit you sure, Fitzwater?
For peace I yield to wrong.
Now, old man, for your daughter.
To see wrong rule, my eyes run streams of water.
But this conversation is interrupted. There is a noise within. Enter various colliers crying a monster.
A monster! A monster! Bring her out! Robin! A monster!
Peace, gaping fellow, knowst thou where thou art?
Why, I'm in Kent, within a mile of Dover. Splud, where am I? Peace and a gaping fellow, for all your dagger, were't it not for your ging, I would knock my whipstock on your addle head. Come out with the monster, Robin.
And within the cry comes, I come, help me, she scratches.
I'll gear the lash. Come out, ye bearded witch.
Bring forth Ely with a yard in his hand and a linen cloth, dressed like a woman.
Good fellows, let me go. There's gold to drink. I am a man, though in woman's weed. Yonder's Prince John. I pray ye let me go.
What rude companions have ye yonder, Salisbury?
Shall we take his money?
No, no. This is the thief that robbed Master Michael's and came in like a woman in labour, I warrant ye.
Who have ye here, honest colliers?
A monster, a woman with a beard, a man in a petticoat, a monster, a monster.
What, my good lord of Ely, is it you? Ely is taken, here's the Chancellor.
Pray God, we be not hanged for this trick.
What, my good lord?
Aye, aye, ambitious lady.
Who? My Lord Chancellor?
Ah, you proud usurper.
What, is your surplice turned to a smock?
Peace, Salisbury, thou changing weathercock.
Alas, my lord, I grieve to see this sight.
Chester, it will be day for this dark night.
Ely, thou wert the foe to Huntington. Robin, thou knewest was my adopted son. Oh, Ely, thou to him wert too cruel. with him fled hence Matilda, my fair jewel. For their wrong, Ely, and thy haughty pride, I helped Earl John. But now I see thee low, at thy distress my heart is full of woe.
Needs must I see Fitzwater's overthrow. John, I affect him not. He loves not thee. Remove him, John, lest thou removed be.
Mother, let me alone. By one and one, I will not leave one that envies our good. My lord of Salisbury, give these honest colliers for taking Ely each 100 marks.
Come, fellows, go with me.
Oh, thank ye, faith. Farewell, monster.
Exeunt Salisbury with colliers.
Sheriff of Kent, take Ely to your charge. From Shrive to Shrive send him to Nottingham, where Warman, by our patent, is High Shrive. There, as a traitor, let him be close kept, and to his trial we will follow straight.
Traitor John.
Do not expostulate. You at your trial shall have time to prate.
And exit people with Ely.
God, for thy pity, what a time is here.
Right, gracious mother, would yourself and Chester would but withdraw you for a little space, while I confer with my good Lord Fitzwater?
My Lord of Chester, will you walk aside?
Whether your highness please, thither I will.
And exeunt Chester and the Queen.
Soldiers, attend the person of our mother.
And exeunt soldiers, so it looks like we just have Fitzwater and Prince John on stage.
Noble Fitzwater, now we are alone. What oft I have desired I will entreat, touching Matilda, fled with Huntington.
Of her what would you touch? Touching her flight, she is fled hence with Robert, her true knight.
Robert is outlawed, and Matilda free. Why, through his fault should she exiled be? She is your comfort, your old age's bliss. Why should your age so great a comfort miss? She's all England's beauty, all her pride. In foreign lands, why should that beauty bide? Call her again, Fitzwater, call again guiltless Matilda, beauty's sovereign.
I grant, Prince John, Matilda was my joy, and the fair sun that kept old winter's frost from griping dead the marrow of my bones, and she is gone. Yet where she is, God wot, aged Fitzwater truly guesseth not. But where she is, there is kind Huntington. With my fair daughter is my noble son. If he may never be recalled again, to call Matilda back it is in vain.
Living with him, she lives in vicious state, for Huntington is excommunicate, and till his debts be paid, by Rome's decree, it is agreed absolved he cannot be. And that can never be, so ne'er a wife, but a loathed adulterous beggar's life must fair Matilda live. This you may amend, and win Prince John your ever-during friend.
As how? As how?
Call her from him. Bring her to England's court, where like fair Phoebe she may sit as queen over the sacred honourable maids that do attend the royal queen my mother. There shall she live a Princess Cynthia, and John will be her true Endymion.
By this construction she should be the moon, and you would be the man in the moon.
A pleasant exposition, good Fitzwater, but if it so fell out that I fell in, you of my full joys should be chief partaker.
John, I defy thee. By my honour's hope, I will not bear this base indignity. Take to thy tools. Think'st thou a nobleman will be a pander to his proper child? For what intend'st thou else, seeing I know Earl Chepstow's daughter is thy married wife? Come, if thou be a right Plantagenet, draw and defend thee. Oh, Our Lady, help true English lords from such a tyrant lord. What, dost thou think I jest? Nay, by the root, I'll lose my life or purge thy lustful blood.
What, mild ruffian, lie at your ward? Have at your forward bosom, old Fitzwater.
And they fight, and it's been 5 minutes since we had a fight, and it was about time we had one. Prince John falls, and enter the Queen, Chester, Salisbury, hastily.
Oh, that thou wert not royal Richard's brother. Thou shouldst here die in presence of thy mother.
John rises, all compass Fitzwater, Fitzwater chafes.
What? Is he up? Nay, lords, then give us leave.
What means this rage, Fitzwater?
Lay hands upon the bedlam, traitorous wretch.
Nay, hail him hence, and hear you, old Fitzwater, see that you stay not 5 days in the realm, for if you do, you die remediless.
Speak, lords, do you confirm what he hath said?
He is our prince, and he must be obeyed.
Hearken, Earl John, but one word will I say.
I will not hear thee, neither will I stay. Thou knowest thy time.
And exit John.
Will not your highness hear?
No, thy Matilda robbed me of my dear.
Exit the Queen Mother.
I aided thee in battle, Salisbury.
Prince John is moved. I dare not stay with thee.
Exit Salisbury.
Gainst thee and Ely, Chester, was I foe, and dost thou stay to aggravate my woe?
No, good Fitzwater. Chester doth lament thy wrong, thy sudden banishment. Whence grew the quarrel twixt the prince and thee?
Chester, the devil tempted old Fitzwater to be a pander to his only daughter, and my great heart impatient forced my hand in my true honour's right to challenge him. Alas the while, wrong will not be reproved.
Farewell, Fitzwater, wheresoe'er thou be. By letters, I beseech thee, send to me.
And exit Chester.
Chester, I will. Heavens turn to good this woe, this wrong, this ill.
And that closes that scene. There's a lot going on here, and for those new to the room, that might be some of the power play that's going on might have been a little impenetrable. So yeah, Prince John is basically doing a bit of a power grab here. So in theory, Ely has been sort of left in charge of the realm, and which is sort of established in Dumb Show at the beginning, while King Richard is off doing fighty things. And this is the point when Prince John says, you know what, I think I'd like to be in charge. I think that would be good. And so they've all been hunting for Ely. They don't know where he's gone. But some people have found him disguised as a woman, not very effectively because he hasn't shaved. And so he's being dealt with. And then we've got Prince John. Prince John is still really hot to trot for Marian, and his mother's still really hot to trot for Robin as well. And they're not really particularly inclined towards Fitzwater when he says he will not assist in this particular overture. But it turns out Chester's, even though they're not actually natural allies, Chester at the end says, you know what, this didn't seem fair. Good luck, best wishes. I'm not going to do anything for you, but, Alan.
I'm just wondering, there seems to be a discontinuity because I was sure yesterday's session, Marian oblique Matilda was described as being part of the Lacey clan, and so Fitzwater suddenly come in and being described as her dad, which...
Yes.
Has someone been at the Herbs in the Woods?
No, I think basically there's just a series of massive inconsistencies in the writing of the text. That there are people whose role in the play either changes or has been moved around, and that basically a production needs to make a decision to conflate some characters so that it functions better or make some decisions. As an isolated scene, it makes perfect sense, but you're right, it does slightly contradict stuff that happened earlier. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why it becomes Fitzwater is that at some point, Munday decided, for reasons, I think it might start becoming clear at the end of the play, that he was going to turn this from one play into two and combine it with another story, which involves Matilda being Fitzwater's daughter, and it combines with something that was vaguely historical. So he switched the name but forgot to change it all the way through. I think that must be what happened. but I think there was a last-minute decision about what to do with this play.
Yeah, I think there does seem to be some evidence that this play, as performed, it doesn't quite match this text as well. So this may represent the play before it undergoes a final revision. So, which makes a lot of sense in the sense it does feel like it could just do with a little bit of a tidy up, and I absolutely understand that happening. Eric.
I was going to say maybe it's sort of because we have Robert Earl of Huntington, and he becomes Robin Hood later on because he kind of like Earl of Huntington is the title, so maybe like Fitzwater is also a title for Lacey. I don't know. That's just me wondering. Also, I was going to point out the Lily reference, which was quite fun. Which I was like, no, you comparing yourself to Endymion, dude. This is not a very good idea. Because we know what happened to him. We read the play. He gets caught, like a spell cast on him, sort of halfway through, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, he might or might not be referencing Lily. You know, it may be a coincidence. Probably not. Maybe it is. Who knows? Briony.
I don't know why we have some random colliers appearing. That's really baffled me. We're not even in particularly like mining country, or why. I know they need some real people off the street kind of people, but they choose all sorts for that, like farmers or whatever, and just why colliers? That's very weird and random to me.
Yeah, it's does actually the text as spoken actually specify that they're colliers, or is that just simply how they're referred to by the speech prefixes?
I think it's just the prefixes.
Yeah, who they are is sort of, maybe that's just a way of remembering who they are.
Colliers would make sense if we were in Sherwood, because you're actually close to a coal mining area. But
we're in Kent,
we're in Kent, near Dover at the moment, and I'm not convinced that there was a major mining industry in Kent.
Helen.
Yeah, colliers didn't mine coal though. Sea coal would arrive at some port from Scotland or Newcastle or wherever it was coming from, and then the colliers would deliver it.
Oh, right, so they're coal merchants rather than coal diggers.
Yeah, they would be miners if they were miners. But colliers, a collier was also a ship that delivered coal.
So maybe...
that would make sense if you've got someone trying to flee the country.
Yeah, but in fact, they're absolutely delightful pair. I mean, they've come upon this woman with a yard, a long stick, and a beard, and they're outraged by the whole thing.
Yes, so they immediately bring this to the attention of the king's brother, because that's what one does.
Yeah, but they're then absolutely horrified when they discover it's a bishop formerly regent of the country. And then they suddenly discover they've done something worthy of being given an enormous reward. So, I mean, their day has been a complete roller coaster. Nice little parts.
Other thoughts? Rachel, then possibly Lois.
No, I was gonna ask about the when they fight, because I don't know what theaters look like. Would this be performed like in court or like in a pit? Like in the theater in the round or something like that.
I believe we have reference to it actually being performed at the Rose. I could be wrong on that. I may have just remembered that wrong, but yeah. So it would be performed at one of the playhouses. It would also possibly be performed on tour. It may also have been performed at court. All of these options are available.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, if they're fighting, like, they could stage fight, or I wonder if sometimes they would clear the pit, and then that would be an invitation for like for the show to, like, I don't know, give the actors a break and then bring in some sort of other alternative entertainment where they would just fight or bear bait or something. and just have them dressed in like the colors.
I suspect in this context that they wouldn't go to that level of trouble. They would demarcate such entertainments. But certainly how elaborate the fights are, you don't put on a play like this without having some quite elaborate fighting going on. Lois, did you have something to add?
Well, just that, I said yesterday I thought Munday was a master of disguise, and we've got yet another change of use of disguise, this time a rather elaborate and totally ineffectual one. Somebody who gets spotted immediately, apparently.
Tamara, were you waving, or was your hand just in an upright sort of fashion?
My hand was just in an upright position.
Excellent. I'll go to Helen.
I love the fact that John is an out and accomplished villain, but this old bloke knocks him over without much trouble at all. I mean, he's not, he hasn't got these knightly skills, which I think is probably a character point, that if he was a good king, he would obviously be also an excellent fighter.
Yeah, and again, we have this sort of moment of, his mother standing over his shoulder, and he said, "No, shush." And, he has obviously an image problem that he has issues of how to maintain in terms of, relationships there. Especially as he did try and woo his own mother the other day. So
yeah, but that was a mistake.
Well, you say that. There was a disguise thing going on.
It's always a mistake to try and woo your own mother.
Yeah. Anyway, let us move on. Act 3, Scene 2, as we have it. We return to the wonders of the wood, I think. Enter Scathlock and Scarlet, winding their horns at several doors. To them enter Robin Hood, Matilda, all in green. Scathlock's mother, Much, Little John, all the men with bows and arrows.
Widow, I wish thee homeward now to wend, lest Warman's malice work thee any wrong.
Master, I will, and mickle good attend on thee, thy love, and all these yeomen strong.
Forget not, widow, what you promised me.
Oh, aye, mistress. For God's sake, let's have Jenny.
You shall have Jenny sent you with all speed. Sons, farewell. And by your mother's rede, love well your master. Blessing ever fall on him, your mistress, and these yeomen tall.
And exit the widow.
God be with you, mother. Have much mind, I pray, on Much your son, and on your daughter Jenny.
Wind once more, jolly huntsman, all your horns, whose shrill sound with the echoing woods assist, shall ring a sad knell for the fearful deer. Before our feathered shafts, death's winged darts, bring sudden summons for their fatal ends.
It's full 7 years since we were outlawed first, and wealthy Sherwood was our heritage. For all those years we reigned uncontrolled, from Barnesdale Shrogs to Nottingham's Red Cliffs. At Blythe and Tick Hill were we welcome guests. Good Georgia Green at Bradford was our friend, and wanton Wakefield's piner loved us well. At Barnsley dwells a potter, tough and strong, that never brooked we brethren should have wrong. The nuns of Farnsfield, pretty nuns they be, gave napkins, shirts, and bands to him and me. Bateman of Kendal gave us Kendal Green, and Sharp of Leeds sharp arrows for us made. At Rotterdam dwelt our bower, God him bless. Jackson he hight, his bows did never miss. This for our good, our scathe let Scathlock tell, in merry Mansfield how it once befell.
In merry Mansfield, on a wrestling day, prizes there were, and yeomen came to play. My brother Scarlet and myself were twain. Many resisted, but it was in vain, for of them all we won the mastery, and the gilt wreaths were given to him and me. There, by Sir Doncaster of Huddersfield, we were betrayed, beset, and forced to yield, and so home borne bound from thence to Nottingham, where we lay doomed to death till Warman came.
Of that enough. What cheer, my dearest love?
Oh, good cheer anon, sir. She shall have venison, a bellyful.
Matilda is as joyful of thy good as joy can make her. How fares Robin Hood?
Well, my Matilda, and if thou agree, nothing but mirth shall wait on thee and me.
O God, how full of perfect mirth were I, to see thy grief turned to true jollity.
Give me thy hand. Now God's curse me on me light, if I forsake not grief in grief's despite. Much, make a cry, and yeomen, stand ye round. I charge ye, never more let woeful sound be heard among ye, but whatever fall, laugh grief to scorn, and so make sorrow small. Much, make a cry, and loudly. Little John.
Oh God, help, help, help! I'm undone, I'm undone!
Why, how now, Much? Peace, peace, ye roaring slave.
My master bade me cry, and I will cry till he bid me leave. Help, help, help! Aye, marry will I.
Peace, Much. Read on the articles, good John.
First, no man must presume to call our master by name of Earl, Lord, Baron, Knight, or Squire, but simply by the name of Robin Hood.
Say, yeoman, to this order will ye yield?
Yield
to serve Robin Hood.
Next, 'tis agreed, if thereto she agree, that fair Matilda henceforth change her name, and while it is the chance of Robin Hood to live in Sherwood a poor outlaw's life, she by Maid Marian's name be only called.
I am contented. Read on, Little John. Henceforth let me be named Maid Marian.
Thirdly, no yeoman, following Robin Hood in Sherwood, shall abuse widow, wife, or maid, but by true labour lustful thoughts expel.
How like ye this?
Master, we
Master,
like
it well. But I cry no to it. What shall I do with Jenny then?
Peace, Much. Go forward with the orders, fellow John.
Fourthly, no passenger with whom ye meet shall ye let pass till he with Robin feast, except a post, a carrier, or such folk as use with food to serve the market towns.
In order which we gladly observe.
Fifthly, you shall never the poor man wrong, nor spare a priest, a usurer, or a clerk.
Nor a fair wench when we meet her in the dark.
Lastly, you shall defend with all your power maids, widows, orphans, and distressed men.
all these we vow to keep, as we are men.
As we are men.
Then wend ye to the greenwood merrily, and let the light rose bootless from ye run. Marian and I, as sovereigns of your toils, will wait within our bower, your bent bow's spoils.
I will among them, master.
And they exit, winding their horns.
Marian, thou seest, though courtly pleasures want, yet country sports in Sherwood is not scant. For the soul-ravishing, delicious sound of instrumental music we have found, the winged choristers with divers notes, sent from their quaint recording pretty throats, on every branch that compasseth our bower, without commandment, contenting us each hour. For arras hangings and rich tapestry, we have sweet nature's best embroidery. For thy steel glass, wherein thou want'st to look, thy crystal eyes gaze on a crystal brook. At court a flower or two did deck thy head, now with whole garlands is it circled. For what in wealth we want, we have in flowers, and what we lose in halls, we find in bowers.
Marian hath all, sweet Robert, having thee, and guesses thee as rich in having me.
I am indeed. For having thee, what comfort can I need?
Go in, go in. To part such true love, Robin, it were sin.
And they exit, and the scene may sort of continue in a moment, but I think we should pause here because we've been given lots of information. It's a full 7 years since has passed since we last met Robin. I love the shout out to Georgia Green. Those of you who've been with us before, we've looked at Georgia Green twice and had a lot of fun with. Georgia Green is super fun. It's very Robin Hoody. Robin Hood does turn up, so maybe within the time scale that happened between the previous scene and Georgia Green is actually canon. I'm going to say within this, which is always lovely. And but that's a play from the early 1590s. This is a play from the late 1590s, different company, or at least it was. Who knows? By this point, I'll go to Lois.
Yeah, sorry, but it isn't a 7-year gap in the play. It's 7 years since Scathlock and Scarlet were outlawed, and Robin has commented on that. In fact, in the previous, right at the end of the thing we did yesterday, that they'd been living there. And that was what gave him the idea that it's obviously possible to live as an outlaw and not starve to death. That they'd been doing it. No, I think this is, this whole business of making the rules and telling everybody to call him Robin Hood and not Robert Earl of Huntington. This is all really following on from what just happened. And that's why they're asking Scarlet and Scathlock to explain why they were about to be executed in the previous scene.
Ah, I see. So time has not moved on.
Yeah, but there are other weird things. Georgia Green was the pinner of Wakefield. In this, there are two different people.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
You tried to create an extended universe and he failed. How'd it go? Well, to be fair, Robin hasn't necessarily met him yet, so maybe he meets him between this play and the next one. Alan?
There's also the mention of the Potter, because we did do a fragment on... as a reading on the podcast of Robin Hood and the Potter.
Though in that case, Robin is less of a hero, more of a running a protection racket.
Well,
is that a lovely pot? Whoops! Oh dear, it's been destroyed.
Yeah.
Do you have any more pots?
Nice business you got here. Shame if something went wrong.
Have you paid for permission to do these lovely pots? Oh dear, there goes another one. Helen.
There's a Welsh version of Robin Hood. Llewellyn is dressed up as Robin Hood, and they have a Potter there too, who is sometimes he's a real Potter and sometimes he's somebody pretending to be a Potter. It's one of those plays. I haven't a clue what it's called. That's Edward the First, is it? Right. Well, there's an awful lot of Robin Hood and the Potter business there, but I never worked out what any of it meant.
Oh, it's an excuse
for a fight.
It's
all in the ballads and the old plays. And Munday is really kind of weaving together all the Robin Hood traditions, I think. And that speech is a really good example of it.
Yes, name-checking Barnstill as well. That turns up in other things as well. So what else have we got here? We've got winding of horns. We have parish council minutes of how it's all going to work. It's quite cute. I quite like that whole thing of you're just going to set what are the rules of this anarchist organisation that we have here.
We're all equal except that I'm in charge, fundamentally.
And I'm not going hunting. You can bring the food back to us. Yeah.
Yes, me and my lady are going to have got ourselves this bower, and we really don't want to invite you round at the moment.
Yeah, and you're just getting the sense of how much of a liability Much is, because Much does some terrible jokes, many of which are not really actually funny. And it's an interesting question about the room of Robin, etc. How many of them find anything that he's saying funny? And is the joke here that he's just saying the wrong things and doing bad, really awful things? It's like Much make her cry, and Much. Yeah, he takes that quite literally in terms of his crying there. And other things he says, which we'll probably just move on from. Eric.
Also, I like how even if he tried, Robin could not sort of hide himself just because of the way he speaks. Sort of very flowery and like, for Ara's hangings, and we have sweet nature's best embroidery for thy steel glass and so on. It's like, if he tries to camouflage himself and disguise himself, he's not going to pass as a commoner by any stretch of the imagination.
No, yeah, it is that thing. You've got people who are experienced woodsmen and people out in the field, and then he just turns up and, hello! I'm just like you, aren't I? Okay, we go into the next unit of action, which may or may not be considered an entirely separate scene. We'll make a decision in a moment. Enter the Prior, Sir Doncaster and the Prior, put my teeth in, Sir Doncaster and Friar Tuck.
To take his body by the blessed rood, 'twould do me more than any other good.
Oh, 'tis an unthrift, still the churchman's foe. An ill end will betide him, that I know. 'Twas he that urged the king to cess the clergy when to the Holy Land he took his journey. And he it is that rescued those two thieves, Scarlet and Scathlock, that so many griefs to churchmen did. And now, they say, he keeps in Sherwood, and himself doth play the lawless reaver. Hear you, my lord prior, he must be taken, or it will be wrong.
Aye, soon said. But ere he be, many will lie dead, except it be by slate.
Aye, there, friar.
Give me, my lord, your execution. The widow Scarlet's daughter, lovely Jenny, loves and is beloved of Much, the miller's son. If I can get the girl to go with me, disguised in habit like a peddler's mort, I'll serve this execution on my life, and single out a time alone to take Robin, that often careless walks alone. Why, answer not. Remember what I said. Yonder I see comes Jenny, that fair maid. If we agree, then back me soon with aid.
Enter Jenny with a fardel.
Tuck, if thou do it.
Friar, do not talk. As we were strangers, let us careless walk.
Now to the green wood wend I, God me speed.
Amen, fair maid, and send thee in thy need Much that is born to do thee much good deed.
Are you there, friar? Nay then, i' faith we have it.
What wench, my love?
Aye, gie it me when I crave it.
Unasked I offer. Prithee, sweet girl, take it.
Gift stink with proffer. Faugh! Friar, I forsake it.
I will be kind.
Will not your kindness kill her?
With love.
You cog.
Oh, girl, I am no miller. Hear in your ear.
The friar courts her.
Let them alone. He is Our Lady Chaplain, but serves Joan.
Then from the friar's fault, perchance it may be, the proverb grew, Joan's taken for my lady.
Peace, good Sir Doncaster, list to the end.
But mean ye faith and troth? Shall I go wi' ye?
Upon my faith, I do intend good faith.
And shall I have the pins and laces too, if I bear a pedlar's pack with you?
As I am holy friar, Jenny, thou shalt.
Well, there's my hand. See, friar, you do not halt.
Go but before into the miry mead, and keep the path that doth to Farnsfield lead. I'll into Southwell, and buy all the knacks that shall fit both of us for pedlars' packs.
Who be they two that yonder walk, I pray?
Jenny, I know not. Be they what they may, scare not for them. Prithee, do not stay, but make some speed, that we were gone away.
Well, friar, I trust you that we go to Sherwood.
Aye, by my beads, and unto Robin Hood.
Make speed, good friar.
Jenny, do not fear.
And exit Jenny.
Lord Prior, now you hear as much as I. Get me 2 pedlars' packs, points, laces, looking-glasses, pins, and knacks, and let Sir Doncaster with some white lads follow us close, and ere these 40 hours, upon my life, Earl Robert shall be ours.
Thou shalt have anything, my dearest friar, and in amends I'll make thee my sub-prior. Come, good Sir Doncaster, and if we thrive, we'll frolic with the nuns of Leeds, believe.
And they exit. Frolic with the nuns of Leeds. That's always nice. I don't know if the nuns of Leeds are particularly well known for frolicking. I have no information on that.
Did that used to rhyme? Sorry, did that used to rhyme? Thrive and believe.
I think yes, that's the idea. Because I don't think it is believe. I think it is belied. Yes. So yes, a short little scene there as the Prior and Doncaster are trying to get set up a trap, and Friar's Tuck is obviously still playing a double-edged sword. He's still in. People think he's on the side of the others, but he's really on Robin's side and is able to work both sides to make it all happen correctly, because he managed to conceal whose side he was on by pretending that he was very bad at fighting and therefore taking out the wrong uns, who he is in theory on the side of. So yes, whisperings in ears, and if not literal disguising, but disguising your intention, and playing tricks. There. Any thoughts on the room, Eric?
Is this like the second reference to nuns and sort of having fun kind of thing, or is it just me?
No, there's a reference in Scarlet's speech, I think, the pretty nuns that helped them out.
Yeah, that's kind of remarking on that.
Nuns can be pretty too. It's they're obviously nice nuns. Helen.
It was a post-Reformation theory that the life conventual of nuns and monks had been irregular. I mean, this is what Munday is talking about is something that no longer exists. And one of the reasons for it no longer existing was that it was corrupt.
Though to be fair, people did have thoughts on its relative levels of corruption before the Reformation as well. Just the Reformation really went to town on it, I think is perhaps a better way of putting it. To an excessive degree, where the question of what is true starts to become very slippery. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, friars are in Chaucer as well, kind of lecherous and hard drinking and so on. I think they were probably suspect because they could wander all over and pretty much do what they liked. But I think in this scene, probably that bit where they think the friar is courting Jenny, he's really whispering to her and explaining the plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric.
Didn't we also have this like sort of not necessarily where we had like sort of some friars hiding a nun in a chest or something in another play, but I can't remember which play it was.
Troublesome Rain.
Yeah, that one. I was gonna say with King John, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Too many. Yeah.
So King John obviously has there's an ongoing relationship with nuns in the extended King John universe. Because this is a history play, and it's interesting actually. Today we have been dipping into things that you could call more history plays than stuff having people having fun plays, because that power play we had earlier with Prince John, is really starting to dip that toe into things that actually happen as opposed to semi-mythic things and that they're interacting with real people. So there's a real interesting attempt here by Munday to really try and square that circle and play all these things together in a way that doesn't feel as fast and loose with history as some of the other really sort of borderline history texts where we're just going, who are these people? They could be anyone, right? It's in some sort of end past that exists, but doesn't. Any other thoughts on that little scene? Jenny entering, carrying some heavy stuff. And the way Jenny's sort of, now I'm off to the greenwood. La-di-da-di-da. I will just explain what I am doing as I am doing it, because that's what characters do.
I'm just wondering if that's like Little Red Riding Hood coming into creation or something.
Yeah. Other
Are you,
thoughts?
are
Yeah,
you
Helen.
suggesting that Tuck is the big bad wolf?
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is. No, I think in the list in this version anyway. In other versions of Tuck, there are hints. We have more lecherous versions of Friar Tuck. At the moment, it seems the lecherousness is primarily a much thing. Much seems quite horny generally. So let us go on to the next scene. Enter Fitzwater like an old man.
Thought he was an old man, actually.
even olderer.
Well did he write, and mickle did he know that said this world's felicity was woe, which greater state can hardly undergo. Whilom Fitzwater in fair England's court possessed felicity and happy state, and in his hall blithe fortune kept her sport, which glee 1 hour of woe did ruinate. Fitzwater once had castles, towns, and towers, fair gardens, orchards, and delightful bowers. But now, nor garden, orchard, town, nor tower hath poor Fitzwater left within his power. Only wide walks are left me in the world, which these stiff limbs will hardly let me tread. And when I sleep, heaven's glorious canopy me and my mossy couch doth overspread. Of this injurious John cannot bereave me. The air and earth he, while I live, must leave me. But from the English air and earth, poor man, his tyranny hath ruthless thee exiled. Yet ere I leave it, I'll do what I can to see Matilda, my fair, luckless child.
And the curtains open. Robin Hood sleeps on a green bank, and Marian strewing flowers on him.
And in good time, see where my comfort stands. And by her lies dejected Huntington. Look how my flower holds flowers in her hands, and flings these sweets upon my sleeping son. I'll close mine eyes as if I wanted sight, that I may see the end of their delight.
Goes knocking with his staff.
What aged man art thou? Or by what chance camest thou thus far into the wayless wood?
Widow, or wife, or maiden, if thou be, lend me thy hand. Thou seest I cannot see. A blessing betide thee. Little feel'st thou want. With me, good child, food is both hard and scant. These smooth, even veins assure me he is kind, whate'er he be, my girl, that thee doth find. I, poor and old, am reft of all earth's good, and desperately am crept into this wood to seek the poor man's patron, Robin Hood.
And thou art welcome, welcome, aged man, aye, 10 times welcome to maid Marian. Sit down, old father, sit, and call me daughter. O God, how like he looks to old Fitzwater.
We have the stage version I'm not sure about. Runs in.
Is my Matilda called maid Marian? I wonder why her name is changed thus.
And Marian, having run off, brings wine and meat.
Here's wine to cheer thy heart. Drink, aged man. There's venison and a knife. Here's matchet fine. Drink, good old man. I pray you, drink more wine. My Robin stirs, I must sing him asleep.
Nay, you have waked me, Marian, with your talk. What man is that that's come within our walk?
An aged man, a silly, sightless man, near pinned with hunger. See how fast he eats.
Much good may it do him. Never is good meat ill spent on such a stomach. Father, profaced to Robin Hood, thou art a welcome man.
I thank you, master. Are you Robin Hood?
Father, I am.
God give your soul much good for this good meat maid Marian hath given me. But hear me, master. Can you tell me news where fair Matilda is, Fitzwater's daughter?
Why, here she is. This Marian is she.
Why did she change her name?
What's that to thee?
Yes, I could weep for grief that it is so, but that my tears are all dried up with woe.
Why, she is called Maid Marian, honest friend, because she lives a spotless maiden life, and shall, till Robin's outlaw life have end, that he may lawfully take her to wife, which, if King Richard come, will not be long, for in his hand is power to right our wrong.
If it be thus, I joy in her name's change. So pure love in these times is very strange.
Robin, I think it is my aged father.
Tell me, old man, tell me in courtesy, are you no other than you seem to be?
I am a wretched, aged man, you see. If you will do me aught for charity, further than this, sweet, do not question me.
You shall have your desire. But what be these?
Indeed, here enter Friar Tuck and Jenny like pedlars. So we've gone from colliers to pedlars, and they're singing. Friar, I'll ask you to read the singing lines, please.
What lack ye? What lack ye? What is it you will buy? Any points, pins, or laces? Any laces, points, or pins? Fine gloves, fine glasses? Any busks or masks, or any other pretty things? Come, cheap for love, or buy for money. Any coney skins? For laces, points, or pins? Fair maids, come choose or buy. I have pretty poking sticks and many other tricks. Come, choose for love or buy for money.
Pedlar, I prithee, set thy pack down here. Marian shall buy, if thou be not too dear.
Jenny, unto thy mistress show thy pack. Master, for you I have a pretty knack. From far I brought. Please you see to the same.
And exit Robin Hood, Marian and Fitzwater. Friar is left alone as enter Sir Doncaster and others weaponed.
Sir Doncaster, are not we pedlar like?
Yes, passing fit, and yonder is the bower. I doubt not we shall have him in our power.
You and your company were best stand close.
What shall the watchword be to bring us forth?
Take it, I pray, though it be much more worth. When I speak that aloud, be sure I serve the execution presently on him.
Friar, look to it.
Now, Jenny, to your song.
Jenny sings, sadly, we have no idea what the song is. Enter Marian and Robin.
Pedlar, what pretty toys have you to sell?
Jenny, unto your mistress show your ware.
Come in, good woman.
And they exit. Friar, it looks like Friar's going to do some Skeltonics.
I don't think he is, actually. Friar, look here, and God give ear, so might I thee to her and me, if ever we, Robin to thee, that art so free, mean treachery.
On, pedlar, to thy pack, if thou love me, and my love thou shalt not lack.
Master, in brief, there is a thief that seeks your grief. God send relief to you in need for a foul deed. If not with speed you take good heed, there is decreed in yonder brake, there lies a snake that means to take out of this wood the yeoman good called Robin Hood.
Pedlar, I prithee thee, be more plain. What brake? What snake? What trap? What train?
Robin, I am a holy friar, sent by the prior who did me hire for to conspire thy endless woe and overthrow. But thou shalt know I am the man whom little John from Nottingham desired to be a clerk to thee. For he to me said thou wert free, and I did see thy honestly from gallow tree when thou didst free Scathlock and Scarlet, certainly.
Ah, why then, it seems thou art Friar Tuck.
Master, I am.
I pray thee, Friar, say what treachery is meant to me this day.
First, wind your horn, then draw your sword. For I have given a friar's word to take your body prisoner and yield you to Sir Doncaster, the envious priest of Huddersfield, whose power your bushy wood doth shield. But I will die ere you shall yield.
And enter Little John, etc.
And sith your yeomen do appear, I'll give the watchword without fear. Take it, I pray thee, though it be more worth.
Rush in Sir Doncaster with his crew.
Smite down, lay hold on outlawed Huntington.
Soft Hotspur priest, 'tis not so quickly done.
Now out, alas, the friar and the maid have to false thieves Sir Doncaster betrayed.
And we can infer there's a massive fight, because that's what these plays are always all about. When's the next fight coming? So we had a fight, winding your horn to call in your mates so that you have more reinforcements, and lo and behold, everybody turns up. I really love the friar doing this sort of, presumably it's sort of still trying to do some patter business here, and yet still sneaking in, trying to tell him things, and then really, it's at the end you just sort of see him pulling his false beard down or something, going, it was me from earlier, just giving up on all pretense. We've got the peddler's song. The text looks awfully familiar. I know it's a sort of a commonplace kind of thing of what lack you, but I do wonder whether there are other analogues of earlier texts that do similar things. Or for that matter, if we can find... I've got no notation that we have any music for it, but there must be plenty of stuff that fits it perfectly well, I would have thought, that's from the period. Thoughts from the room, Briony?
It's a good job I was on mute, because I was just shouting at Robin Hood then. He made me really angry. How many times did the friar need to tell him? He's just told you, man. Why are you asking him? Oh.
He's a very earnest chap, but you're not necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer. Robin Hood doesn't have to be clever. He just has to be earnest and sincere and honourable and right and stuff. Perhaps discuss other thoughts. Briony again.
So was the friar's master plan to just do the thing and lead the baddies to Robin Hood, but then tell him about it with like 5 minutes to prepare, if that? What a master plan.
Well, he knows that Robin's got a horn and that he's got merry men. And so it's leading Doncaster into a trap. Yeah. It's not a complicated plan. I think, we've got experience with plays that complicated plans never go well. I mean, Arden of Faversham did demonstrate that complicated plan making is always a disaster. I'll go to Helen, then Lois.
Possibly the first television programme that I ever watched regularly was Robin Hood. And every time you make that horn call, I am almost immobilized with laughter. It is.
Yes,
it probably doesn't mean much to other people.
No, I am doing it on purpose, and just for coverage, just to point out, it is a somewhat saccharine musical tune that is used and overused, perhaps, in that original TV iteration. I'm just saying that because if you criticise the piece of music, then you can use it, and it's fair use. Just in case the algorithm picks it up, Lois.
Yeah, that whole plot comes from the little jest of Robin Hood. There's a bit of that where Little John, I think, is staying with the sheriff and actually leads him into the forest to find some. He says he knows where the best deer are, and then of course Robin Hood and his men are all there, ambush them and rob the sheriff. So I mean, it's basically that plot being reused. As I say, Munday never wastes anything.
No. This is the kind of thing where I really do feel that we need introductory notes from Munday to explain all of why he did it, because he would if he could have done, he would have done, and it would have been very entertaining. And he'd get into an argument about someone else who'd written something differently, and yeah. Other thoughts about this scene rather than us just picking fights with a very, very dead person? Okay, we're going to go into the next scene. We've got it down as Act 4, Scene 1. It really isn't. And it goes on for a while, and we may not come to the other end of the other side of it this session. We may or we may not, I don't know. And we may stop and start occasionally through it, and hopefully it will be fine. The Prior has now changed to a different Prior to read Prior, Lord Prior. I don't think he's a Prior, he's just Lord Prior. I think. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, enter John, crowned. So there's been a bit of a political play. Pulling out a crown there. Excellent. Queen Eleanor, Chester, Salisbury, Lord Prior, they all sit down. Apart from Warman, Warman stands.
As God's vice-regent, John ascends this throne, his head impaled with England's diadem, and in his hand the awful rod of rule, giving the humble place of excellence, and to the low earth casting down the proud.
Such upright rule is in each realm allowed.
Chester, you once were Eli's open friend, and yet are doubtful whether he deserve a public trial for his private wrongs.
I still am doubtful whether it be fit to punish private faults with public shame in such a person as Lord Ely is.
Yes, Honourable Chester, more it fits to make apparent sins of mighty men, and on their persons sharply to correct a very little fault, a very small defect, that on the poor to practice chastisement. For if a poor man die or suffer shame, only the poor and vile respect the same. But if the mighty fall, fear then besets the proud heart of the mighty ones, his mates. They think the world is garnished with nets and traps, ordained to entrap their states, which fear in them begets a fear of ill, and makes them good, contrary to their will.
Your lordship hath said right, Lord Salisbury. Is not your mind as ours concerning Eli?
I judge him worthy of reproof and shame.
Warman, bring forth your prisoner Eli the Chancellor, and with him bring the seal that he detains. Warman, why goest thou not?
Be good to me, my lord.
What hast thou done?
Speak for me, my lord Prior. All my good lords entreat his grace for me. Ely, my lord.
Why? Where is Ely, woman?
Fled today. This misty morning he is fled away.
Judas, whom nor friend nor foe may trust, think'st thou with tears and plaints to answer this? Do I not know thy heart? Do I not know that bribes have purchased Eli this escape? Never make antic face, never bend with feigned humbleness thy still crouching knee, but with fixed eyes unto thy doom attend. Villain, I'll plague thee for abusing me. Go hence, and henceforth never set thy foot in house or field thou didst this day possess. Mark what I say. Advise thee to look to it, or else be sure thou diest remediless. Nor from those houses see that thou receive so much as shall sustain thee for an hour. But as thou art, go where thou canst. Get friends, and he that feeds thee be mine enemy.
Oh, my good lord.
Thou thy good lord betrayedst, and all the world for money thou wilt sell.
What says the Queen?
Why, thus I say, betray thy master, thou will all betray.
My lords of Chester and Salisbury.
Speak not to us.
Speak not to us.
We defy.
All traitors we defy.
Good my Lord Prior.
Alas, what can I do?
Then I defy the world, yet I desire your grace would read this supplication.
And John reads.
I thought as much. But woman, dost thou think there is one moving line to mercy here? I tell thee no. Therefore away, away! A shameful death follows thy longer stay.
Oh, poor, poor man, of miserable, miserablest wretch I am.
And exit Warman.
Confusion be thy guide, a baser slave earth cannot bear. Plagues follow him I crave. Can any tell me if my Lord of York be able to sit up?
The Archbishop's grace was reasonable well even now, good son.
And he desired me that I should desire your majesty to send unto his grace, if any matter did import his presence.
We will ourselves step in and visit him. Mother, and my good lords, will you attend us?
I gladly will attend, your majesty.
Now, good lord, help us. When I said good lords, I meant not you, Lord Prior. Lord, I know you are, but good, God knows you never mean to be.
And exit King, well, I suppose he is King John now, isn't he? Queen, Chester, Salisbury. We'll pause there mid-scene. So many interesting things there. Yeah, Prince John really is not a happy bunny at any point, is he? You know, slightest thing goes wrong. I feel a bit for Warman here. Again, we got the same game we had earlier of going around the room of going, will you help me? No. Will you help me? No. Will you help me? What the hell am I supposed to do? I loved Prior's response there. You know. And then the fact that Warman goes, I defy you all, and yet here's a pleading missile that I wrote earlier. Would you please like to sit down and read? This hopefully will save me. I want Prince John to get out a red pen and sort of mark it. And you know, and it could do better. So yeah, it's all going very badly for people, and various people are getting it in the neck. The Lord Prior on the way out. Yeah, nasty. It's not looking good. Not looking good for people. Any thoughts, Prince John? Wearing your hat wrong. His head impaled with England's diadem. That's not. Yeah, that's
No wonder he's got a headache.
Yeah. I'm being silly now. Helen.
Yeah, speaking as the prior, I feel he may have made a mistake. I was very, very much on Team John about 30 seconds ago. I am now slightly less on Team John because he has now been gratuitously insulting to me in the middle of the court.
Mm.
I mean, maybe I am a person of no note whatsoever, but I think I'm rethinking my allegiance.
Yeah. Well, we may have more data on that in a moment. Other thoughts, Briony.
I do always love a baddie, but King John, it's just how scathing he is. That last line just before we finished was everything. Just the way he's like, yeah, I wasn't actually talking to you because you're a turd.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. He's just so...
Yes, you know, good lords, but not you. Not you. Yeah. Any other?
This is a guy who is uncertain. I mean, he has usurped royal authority. You would think he would want all the friends he could get.
He's got
what has the prior done to him?
Well, nothing, really. He's pretty much done exactly what the king, or prince, king, depending on your point of view, asked him to do. Said something moderately fawning, and then, had a go at him. Lois.
Yeah, I think there seems to be a general notion in this period, or maybe it's just Monday, that John is just unstable. You never know what he's going to do. I mean, if we ever get round to Look About You, which is actually a prequel to all this, someone actually talks about the way the Henry's youngest son is a kind of weathercock, and you never know what he's going to be asking for from one minute to the next.
Helen.
Yeah, there's also the possibility, thinking about it, that because sometime shortly, John is going to be the enemy of the church, according to the troublesome reign. But that's way in the future. I just wondered if this was a precursor of it. Yet he seems okay with the Archbishop of York.
Tamara.
I just wanted to pick up on the weathercock thing, because reading John, that's the impression you get, because it's really, on a first look, it's really hard to keep up with. What am I doing next? Who am I yelling at? What do I want? And so I really like that we're reading this cold, because that's giving you that impression. And I feel like I'd really like to workshop him, actually, because you're trying to read it and trying to read ahead at the same time to work out what's what.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. We have so many different interpretations of John available as well. I mean, this is at least the third version that we have read. We have got more to come. He as a historical figure is, I think, the most written about king that really we've got, in terms of individual separate plays that all do very, very different jobs of work. So he's a really interesting figure in that sense, though there is a slight possibility that we might get a bit Johned out. Jaundice, possibly. I don't know. I'm going to stop trying to do jokes. Let's move on. So the Prior has been, Lord Prior has been left behind. Everybody else is gone. John's thrown some shade over his shoulder as he goes, and Prior gets to speak his thoughts to the audience.
John is incensed, and very much I doubt that villain Warman hath accused me about the escape of Ely. Well, suppose he have. What's that to me? I am a clergyman, and all his power, if he all extend, cannot prevail against my holy order. But if the Archbishop's grace is now his friend, and may perchance attempt to do me ill...
Enter a serving man.
What's news with you, sir?
Even heavy news, my lord, for the lightning's fire. Falling in manner of a fire drake upon a barn of yours, hath burnt 6 barns, and not a strike of corn reserved from dust. No hand could save it, yet 10,000 hands labored their best, though none for love of you. For every tongue with bitter cursing banned your lordship as the viper of the land.
What meant the villains?
Thus and thus they cried upon this churl, this hoarder up of corn, this spoiler of the Earl of Huntington, this lust defiled, merciless, false prior. Heaven raineth vengeance upon, vengeance down in shape of fire. Old wives that scarce could with their crutches creep, and little babes that newly learned to speak, men masterless that thorough want did weep, all in one voice with a confused cry, and excretions banned you bitterly. Plague follow plague, they cry. He hath undone the good Lord Robert, Earl of Huntington. And then...
What then, thou villain? Get thee from my sight. They that wish plagues, plagues will upon them light.
Unfortunately, enter another servant.
What are your tidings?
The convent of St. Mary's are agreed, and have elected in your lordship's place old Father Jerome, who is stalled Lord Prior by the new Archbishop.
Of York, thou meanst. Of vengeance on him. He is my hope's foe.
And then enter a herald.
Gilbert de Hood, late Prior of St. Mary's, our sovereign John commandeth thee by me that presently thou leave this blessed land, defiled with the burthen of thy sin. All thy goods, temporal and spiritual, with free consent of Hubert, Lord of York, Primate of England, and thy ordinary, he hath suspended, and vowed by heaven to hang thee up, if thou depart not hence without delaying or more question. And that he hath good reason for the same, he sends this writing, affirmed with Warman's hand, and comes himself, whose presence, if thou stay, I fear this sun will see thy dying day.
Oh, Warman hath betrayed me. Woe is me.
Enter John, Queen Chester, Salisbury.
Hence with that prior. Sirrah, do not speak. My eyes are full of wrath, my heart of wreak. Let Leicester come. His hot heart, I am sure, will check the kingly course we undertake.
And exits the prior. The prior is now very, very prior. Yes, so the reason why John turned at him was the contents of the letter he was reading earlier, so we can sort of expect sort of glances of going, and that's why he suddenly turns on him. And then we have a series of body blows coming along, stuff burning down. You've been sort of taken out of your station, and you're banished. So Prior's not having a great time here, but he kind of deserved it because he wasn't a nice man.
Banished?
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, but he wasn't very nice. Look what he did to Robin. Robin Hood, our hero. He's a baddie. The baddies have just taken out another baddie.
He's an outlaw.
Well, Robin Hood is now an outlaw, yes, but that's in part because of the prior. So he deserves it.
No, he doesn't.
Helen is identifying slightly too much with the character she's reading. Briony, then Lois.
So I take it after... So he kind of does deserve it, though, because the Warman did try to appeal to him first, and then when he said no, that was when he gave the letter to John, right? So definitely deserved it.
So within the scene as well as the play as a whole, he's not he's not a great guy. Lois.
Yeah, the other thing is that he's Robin Hood's uncle. I mean, he turned him in really at the beginning in order to get his lands, I think, and his goods. So he's also greedy on top of everything else.
Hoarder up of corn, and only an utter bastard hoards corn. Alan.
Just a question that's not so much relevant to a first look, but might become relevant on a second. The stage direction that we've just got to, exeunt cum prior, implies plural exits, and it's not quite clear to me who is left on stage at this point.
I think it's the supernumerary takes him off. It's presumably semi-escorted off. That's why I'm assuming that.
Guards.
Lois, do you have...
I'm just saying probably a couple of guards go off with him.
Yeah. Everybody else, we can assume, remains on stage. Because this is one of these rolling scenes where we have various units of action, but it's still only one scene. But yes, so there's a lot of tidying up precisely who enters and exits in tidying up the text for next look. Rachael.
Maybe the serving man and the servant exit with him.
Yes,
they take it.
Or Herald.
Yeah, not serving man, servant, and herald, none of whom have exits either. Yeah. So yeah, you could reutilise them. Other thoughts before we carry on the scene? We've just had a mention of let Leicester come, and Leicester indeed makes a quite an entrance. Enter Leicester, drum and ancient.
Welcome from war, thrice noble Earl of Leicester, unto our court. Welcome, most valiant Earl.
Your court in England and King Richard gone, a king in England and the king from home. This sight and salutations are so strange that what I know not how to speak.
What would you say? Speak boldly, we entreat.
It is not fear, but wonder bars my speech. I'm used to see a mother and a queen, two peers so great as Salisbury and Chester, sit and support proud usurpation, and see King Richard's crown worn by Earl John.
He sits as viceroy and as substitute.
He must and shall resign when Richard comes.
Chester, he will, without your must and shall.
Whether he will or no, he shall resign.
You know your own will, Leicester, but not mine.
Tell me among ye, where is Reverend Eli, left by our dread king as his deputy?
Banished he is, as proud usurpers should.
Pride then, belike, was enemy to pride. Ambition in yourself his state envied. Where is Fitzwater, that old honored lord?
Dishonored and exiled, as Eli is.
Exiled he may be, but dishonored never. He was a fearless soldier and a virtuous scholar. But where is Huntington, that noble youth?
Undone by riot.
Ah, the greater Ruth.
Leicester, you question more than doth become you. On to the purpose why you come to us.
I come to Eli and to all the state, sent by the king, who 3 times sent before, to have his ransom brought to Austria. And if you be elected deputy, do as you ought, and send the ransom money.
Leicester, you see I am no deputy, and Richard's ransom, if you do require, thus we make answer. Richard is a king in Cyprus, Acorn, Acre, and rich Palestine. To get those kingdoms, England lent him men, and many a million of her substance spent. The very entrails of her womb were rent. No plough, but paid a share, no needy hand, but from his poor estate of penury, unto his voyage offered more than mites, and more poor souls than they had might to spare. Yet were they joyful, for still flying news and lying, I perceive them now to be, came of King Richard's glorious victories, his conquest of the Soldan, and such tales as blew them up with hope. When he returned, he would have scattered gold about the streets.
Do princes fight for gold? O leaden thought. Your father knew that honor was the aim, kings level at. By sweet Saint John, I swear, you urge me so that I cannot forbear. What do you tell of money lent the king, when first he went into this holy war, as if he had extorted from the poor, when you, the queen, and all that hear me speak, know with what zeal the people gave their goods? Old wives took silver buckles from their belts, young maids the gilt pins that tucked up their trains, children their pretty whistles from their necks, and every man what he did most esteem, crying to soldiers, wear these gifts of ours. This proves that Richard had no need to wrong or force the people that with willing hearts gave more than was desired. And where you say you do guess Richard's victories, but lies. I swear he won rich Cyprus with his sword, and thence more glorious than the guide of Greece that brought so huge a fleet to Tenedos. He sailed along the Mediterranean Sea, where on a sun-bright morning he did meet the warlike Soldan's well-prepared fleet. Oh, still methinks I see King Richard stand, in his gilt armor stained with pagan's blood, upon a galley's prow, like war's fierce god, and on his crest a crucifix of gold. Oh, that day's honor can be never told. 6 times 6 several brigantines he boarded, and in the greedy waves flung wounded Turks, and 3 times thrice the winged galleons banks, wherein the Soldan sun was admiral. In his own person royal Richard smoothed and left no heathen hand to be upheaved against the Christian soldiers.
Leicester, so, did he all this?
Aye, by God he did. And more than this, nay, just not at it, John. I swear he did. By Leicester's faith he did, and made the green sea red with pagan's blood, leading to Joppa glorious victory, and following fear that fled unto the foe.
And all this he did, perchance all this was so.
Holy God, help me. Soldiers, come away. This carpet knight sits carping at our scars, and jests at those most glorious well-fought wars.
Leicester, you are too hot. Stay, go not yet. Methinks if Richard won those victories, the wealthy kingdoms he hath conquered may, better than poor England, pay his ransom. He left this realm as a young orphan maid to Eli, the stepfather of this estate, that stripped the virgin to her very skin. And, Leicester, had not John more careful been than Richard at this hour, England had not England been. Therefore, good warlike lord, take this in brief. We wish King Richard well, but can send no relief.
Oh, let not my heart break with inward grief.
Yes, let it, Leicester. It is not amiss that 20 such hearts break as your heart is.
Are you a mother? Were you England's queen? Were Henry, Richard, Joffrey your sons? All sons but Richard, son of all those sons. And can you let this little meteor, this ignis fatus, this same wandering fire, this goblin of the night, this brand, this spark, seem through a lanthorn greater than he is? By heaven, you do not well. By earth, you do not. Chester, nor you, Earl Salisbury, ye do not. No, ye do not what ye should.
Were this bear loose, how he would tear our moors.
Pale death and vengeance dwell within his jaws.
But we can muscle him and find his paws. If King John say we shall indeed.
Do if you can.
It's well thou hast some fear. No curs. Ye have no teeth to bait this bear. I will not bide mine ensign bearer wave, my tattered colours in this worthless air, which your vile breaths vilely contaminate. Bearer, thou'st been my ancient bearer long, and borne up Leicester's bear in foreign lands, yet now resign these colours to my hands. For I am full of grief and full of rage. John, look upon me. Thus did Richard take the coward Austria's colours in his hands, and thus he cast them under Acon walls, and thus he trod them underneath his feet. Rich colours, how I wrong ye by this wrong, but I will right ye. Bearer, take them again, and keep them ever them maintain. We shall have use for them, I hope, ere long.
Darest thou attempt this proudly in our sight?
What is a subject dares that I dare not?
Dare subjects dare their sovereign being by?
Oh God, that my true sovereign were nigh.
Leicester, he is.
Madam, by God you lie.
Unmannered man.
A plague of reverence where no regard is had of excellence.
And a drum sounds. We will continue reading on for a little bit more.
But you will quiet me now. I hear your drums. Your principality hath stirred up men. And now you think to muzzle up this bear. Still they come nearer, but are not the near.
What drums are these?
I think some friends of yours prepare a power to resist this wrong.
Let them prepare, for Leicester is prepared. Thus he woos his willing men to fight. Soldiers, ye see King Richard's open wrong, Richard that led ye to the glorious east, and made ye tread upon the blessed land where he that brought all Christians blessedness was born, lived, wrought his miracles, and died. From death arose, and then to heaven ascended, whose true religious faith ye have defended. Ye fought, and Richard taught ye how to fight against profane men, following Mohammed. But if ye note, they did their kings their right, these more than heathen sacrilegious men, professing Christ, banish Christ's champion hence, their lawful lord, their home-born sovereign, with petty quarrels and with slight pretense.
And enter Richmond and soldiers.
Oh, let me be as short as time is short, for the armed foe is now within our sight. Remember how 'gainst 10 one man did fight, so hundreds against thousands have borne head. You are the men that ever conquered. If multitudes oppress ye that ye die, let's sell our lives and leave them valiantly. Courage upon them till we cannot stand.
And there we will pause. I thought it was fair to give the Leicester a full vent across that session. We will go back a little bit next time to run into this scene so that we can finish it, but we're not going to have time to finish this scene today. This is doing proper history play stuff. This is that unfortunate incident of Richard, their king, getting somewhat captured and being ransomed for an amount of money that was an obscene sum. It's not like, oh, we need to look round the back of the sofa to get some money to ransom our king. It was a huge amount and basically bankrupted the kingdom. And so this is no small thing. But I do love the fact we've got Leicester, who turns up and basically goes, right, I'm back from the wars. How's everything going? So who's in prison? What now? Who's banished? What is going on? Before he gets to actually deliver his message. So yeah, this is doing all sorts of stuff, and Leicester really is I'm loving the way Prince John undercuts these speeches. He's doing this, and Richard did this, and Richard did that, and he's just yeah. Oh really? Yeah. He did all of that. He did all of the things. Oh, right. Lovely. And it's just like, yeah, Leicester just keeps working himself up into more and more. And he's like he's on a slightly different plane, in a slightly nobler play that he's wandered in from, despite the problematic nature of everything that Richard is currently doing abroad. So thoughts from the room about Leicester's intervention and things. Helen, I thought you might be interested. You might have something to say. You are muted at present.
It's a Turk play. I didn't know it was going to be a Turk play. We're in amongst the Soldans. Yeah, and I had absolutely no idea that's. But I mean, there's a tremendous amount of stage space given to heroic Mediterranean adventures.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the other King John plays that we've done do not touch on Richard at all. This is the closest we're getting to Richard the First, or almost as close as we get. We don't have that much as we have for some other kings. So actually touching on what he's doing in the Crusades and getting some data on that. Lois.
Yeah, I think Leicester's speeches are magnificent, and the scene is really interesting because Munday does actually give both sides of the whole argument. I mean, the fact that he was costing an enormous amount of money, and then Leicester's thing, so what? Everybody was thrilled, and they all loved Richard. You get sort of the legend, but also the undercutting and the cynicism about it.
Eric.
I guess also it's like looking at it in context. If Queen Elizabeth was on the throne, I don't know, I can't remember.
Still just about.
Yeah. They like sort of them going, sort of all these heroic deeds and the sort of the waste, the money that we've spent, all that, throwing it at war and that kind of thing, could be quite controversial, I guess, for the time. And it still goes on. You still get it, like, with Iran, Iraq, all that stuff, Afghanistan, America.
Yeah, it's interesting bringing out the Queen, because actually yesterday's session, something we didn't touch on was just the possible parallels with an older woman throwing herself at younger subjects, which is an interesting element in Elizabeth's life, or exaggerated perhaps, and just wondering whether there was any play on that at all. That was really something I should have brought up yesterday, but I didn't. Briony.
To Richard again, not Richard, John. He might not be doing the gallant thing, but he's talking a lot of sense here, and this isn't a side that I've ever seen kind of put forward. It totally makes sense. He's going off doing all this, that, and the other, which is wonderful for the country, but somebody's actually got to maintain the country and hold it all together back here. And again, so he's a very ambiguous baddie to me, because he is talking a lot of sense a lot of the time, just because he's not very nice about it.
Well, one of those things that people throw against John is generally level of taxation and taking money from the poor, etc. It's to pay for Richard's bloody wars. He's a lot of that heavy taxation is all about following the absent king. The absent king is actually the liability to a large degree. That's not to say that John was a great king, but he did have quite a lot to deal with. Rachael, I think I saw a hand.
No, just that this is just such a great scene for actors, and I tried to hit some of the notes, but I feel like if this was revisited in a second look, or in a workshop, that this would just be a great scene to hit, because it seems like he at Leicester walks in expecting for somebody else to be deputy in charge, and he's just gets hit with something else completely.
Yeah, and it really is interesting, the play between the two speeches, between Prince John and Leicester. And the different games that they're playing with each other, and everybody else is mostly staying silent, but then when you do get other people, and we get this repeatedly in the play, they sort of have a sort of structured response between all of the lords and the Queen, that they sort of dance around each other, and it's quite formal, but it has a lot of bounce to it as well. Again, this slight nod back to the framing device, which we haven't really talked about today. That in theory this is a play being put on in the 1510s, 1520s by John Skelton. That might be leaning slightly towards that. Vaguely, I don't know. I might be overstating that. Helen.
1525-ish, you had the Battle of Pavia, in which the King of France was captured. His horse fell on him, and they made him surrender before they pulled it off. And as a result of that, France was effectively bankrupt, because they took the king and held him to ransom. And that was within living memory. Big money.
Okay, we are approaching extra time, so it's time to go around for final thoughts about this session. It's been a really interesting mix of stuff that feels like your genuine pucker history play, and then also the fun Robin Hood narrative, and they're kept relatively separate today. They do seem to be running on slightly separate tracks. And that's really interesting. Whereas yesterday everything felt more mixed because they were interacting with each other. But now some people have gone off to the woods, and some people are still at court doing court things. So I'm finding what the work the play is doing today really, really interesting. And not disappointing. I'm not finding that disparity a problem per se. So yeah. Tamara, you've come to this. This fresh, how's it landing for you?
I mean, first of all, thank you for letting me read John, because that was fun. And just from that character, I would really like to workshop this and have a second look. And it's also one of my favorite stories because I love Robin Hood. So I'm really biased and I'm really enjoying myself. So I haven't really got extra thoughts other than that. Yeah, I'm literally just enjoying myself today.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. Because this is a play where, you know, sometimes we have plays where we're going, oh, how would we market this? How do we get this back to an audience? We don't just call it Robin Hood and we're fine. You know, so this is a very straightforward play in the sense you just need to just do it. So I'm much more. I'm really glad that it works, because if it didn't work, that would be more problematic. Nothing worse than getting a popular audience in for a play that they won't enjoy. Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was more interested in the fact that you get the Skeltonics in the comedy scenes, and then you kind of you get like the quick rhyme in those as well. I mean the quick exchange of rhyme. Whereas in the more serious historic ones you don't, which changes the pace quite a bit, I guess. But also in these ones you get the like Salisbury, Chester, Queen Mother, Prince John, and it's all very, very quick. I can imagine that if it was proper, like, if we had rehearsed it or whatever, not a cold read, it would be like, bam, 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 and then it would just be sort of very impactful, because it was slowed down because of the speeches as well.
Yeah, we've got lots of shared lines as well, which is that breaks the action up a bit. And yeah, the Skeltonics is pretty much only Skelton gets to do those. I don't think anyone else is given them. It's very much his thing. Every so often, Skelton comes out and does a rap, because that's what he does. Does some beatboxing and moves on. Rachael, any final thoughts?
Just that I feel even with some of the inconsistencies, like Marian having like two dads, I think Munday's like kind of hitting his stride with this one. That there's so much, like how the further we got into Lily, that there was that one play that I really liked by him. Even though I liked some of the other ones too, there was one that I was like, it just was, he was showing his experience, I think, with writing and with the actors and with theater at that point, and had gotten into his own style. And I really liked this last scene we did, and I liked yesterday, and I liked what we were doing today.
Cool. Briony, any final thoughts?
I'm still just really, really intrigued. It's not really like anything, not quite like anything else that I've read. So it's like a history but fun. But I don't know. Yeah, I want to see how it ends.
Sarah, Voice in the Wilderness. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm finding the split between the Robin Hood stuff and the court stuff interesting. I wasn't expecting there to be so much court stuff, actually. And I am one of those people who doesn't really. I'm not a fan of Richard Lionheart at all. So I'm finding John quite entertaining in this version, and I like the fact that the arguments, the economic arguments that he put forward when Leicester was ranting. I quite enjoyed that. But they seem to be very, very separate worlds at the moment, and I'm going to be interested to see how they come together tomorrow.
Yeah, I think there's something quite the impact of these long flowing scenes that we've had a number of. There aren't that many scenes in the play overall. There's lots of units of action, and I think that's the biggest sort of sustained thing that Robin's not been vaguely tangentially connected to. It's really not about him. It's mostly about other things. So it's interesting how this and it is almost in the middle of the play. It's not quite, slightly off centre. So it's interesting what structurally whether things are pivoting round what's going on here, whether that will be picked up more tomorrow. Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, as you know, I love this play. Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, I wondered who on earth Leicester was doubling, because he's given so much here. What else was he playing earlier in the play? If they've got somebody who can do those speeches. The other thing I didn't point out when we were in the scene with Fitzwater and Robin and Marian, but that is the stupidest of all the disguises in this play. I'm just going to shut my eyes and they'll all think I'm blind. I mean, really.
Yeah, the logistics and the question about what his disguise really is like, I am now an and just the way Marian just goes, I think it's me dad. And just at what point did she sort of twig, like, how much of this scene has been an actual disguise and how much hasn't?
Well, that's what's so funny about saying enter Fitzwater like an old man. He is an old man. So is he disguised as himself? Have we got another of these goofy things?
Yeah, or maybe they just wanted to reiterate at that point in the script he's supposed to be old rather than it is explicitly a disguise or what. I mean, it's yeah. Oh well. Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece. I mean, looking at it, it's not a short play in terms of wordage. And by the time you add in the various choreographed fight scenes, that I think there's been 3 so far that we've gone through, that it would actually be quite a long session in the theatre.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing is, I think maybe I misheard you earlier, but you were suggesting that this might have been actually that the printed version that's come down to us was actually a sort of an earlier draft rather than, as we're maybe more familiar with, a post-production copy, because there seemed to be an awful lot of inconsistencies that I would have thought would have been smoothed out had it gone through a performance route.
Yes, so it's partly to do with its relationship with the second play as well. So we might go into that more detail when we get to the second play. But it seems like there is some revision that this text, in theory, underwent, but this doesn't appear to be in this text, if that makes sense. So yeah, there does seem to be an interesting textual question about what happens to Munday's text. But yes, hopefully we will address that, but maybe not today. Helen, I think you are last. Final thoughts?
For me, I'm much more interested in a history play than a Robin Hood play, because I always find Robin Hood a little difficult to take seriously, and this Robin Hood even more than most. But the early as a play about the early career of King John, I think it's absolutely splendid. I really am appreciating that. I'd quite like to hear somebody talking about its print history and what we know about performance history. But as you say, that's probably something to do at the end of reading the next play.
Oh, yes, and also for additional work later on, because as I say, I don't see any problem with staging this play apart from its relative scale. It holds no terrors at all, and certainly in terms of trying to sell tickets, it's a relatively straightforward proposition. In fact, I don't really understand why it hasn't got on much better, apart from nobody really reading it as Robin Hood, reading it as the downfall of Robin. You're not even going to pick up a script to see if it's worth reading with that title. I just want to touch on Alan's point. Actually, I lost my thread about the length. It is not a short play. It's not an epically long play, but we're talking 2.5 hours uncut at least. There's trims might need to be made, or you just accept that it's going to be a very long night at the theatre. Lois?
Yeah, I mean, its relation to the second play is also peculiar, because I mean, I take it you know the second play. I mean, effectively, the Robin Hood stuff ends fairly quickly and it becomes something completely different. So the question would be really whether to put the Robin Hood stuff from the second play back into this one and make it a complete Robin Hood play, which I suspect is what happened originally, or, move more of this stuff into the second play, and in which case you would have a shorter play.
Or it's a question of also longevity. Do you want to stage this and then the following year do another one, or do George of Green? And basically have or try and build a tradition of doing Robin Hood plays. It doesn't matter which one. And how you build seasons around them as well. I on Helen's point about the history element, it's a really strong history play actually, within the fact that it's got, like other history plays, having semi-fictional characters or fictional characters who are there to represent slightly different classes or different areas of society. This functions exactly like that with this play as well, and it does seem to be doing a very serious job of work of explaining what's going on in the kingdom with the absent King Richard and the present Prince John, and it's doing that very well, and that's what I really like. How silly Robin is as a figure is an interesting open question, because he starts off and has some really good solid material at the beginning. He gets to be very cross in a really effective way, quite similar to Leicester actually, the level of crossness though. So it's an interesting question about where you pitch Robin and how he pitches, which I don't think we can decide until we get to the end of the process, or for that matter decide how we deal with the text. So there's lots of options with this. Eric?
I was just going to say, because we haven't finished the play, as you pointed out. But it's called The Downfall of the Earl of Robert, the Earl of Huntington. So there's a part of me going, this is like that kind of implies it might be a bad thing, rather than becoming Robin Hood rather than a good thing, or like it's not, because it's not titled The Adventures of Robin Hood or whatever, and it's not about him in that sense. It's it's not making him a hero in some ways.
Well, the downfall in the title, that's presumably what happens at the beginning of the play. I mean, that's what it's referring to. But it sounds to us like, Robert's going to be stuck in a bunker while the Allies advance. It's not giving the right impression of the play. If we go with the sort of longer form of the title, The Downfall of Robert, Earl of Huntington, afterward called Robin Hood of Merry Sherwood, then you get a better sense of what's going on here. So it's not that we're heading for a downfall. The downfall happens right at the top of the play. Lois?
Yeah, I suspect they knew this back then too, because in Henslow's diary, the plays, which I assume are this one, are called Robin Hood Part 1 and Robin Hood Part 2. So they obviously knew about marketing too.
Yes, and for that matter, the YouTube video is going to be called Robin Hood Part 1 and Part 2, subtitle, and lots of tags to make sure that people looking for the play can find it. Because it's just too damn long. I can't fit it with all the other gubbins to make sure I know which video it is. It's only ever going to be a subtitle. It's never going to be anything else. Any other thoughts from the room, Alan?
You've shot your bolt a bit on the titling on YouTube, because it went up yesterday as Robin Hood Part 1. It should actually be Robin Hood Part 1, Part 1.
It is Robin Hood Part 1, Part 1. It's the same problem we had with Edward IV Part 1, Part 2, etc. Unless I start using A, B, and C, it's a nightmare. Welcome. Nobody at home cares. You don't care. You don't care how I label videos. I may even have changed how I label the video by the time this video goes out, or in the future I can change the title of the video anytime I like. It doesn't matter. I have the power. Anyway, Eric.
I was just going to say, because we're talking about the title and Robin Hood and how marketing, blah blah. I was just thinking, well, it is a good excuse to talk about the history, as Helen has said and as other people have said. So maybe it is kind of that thing of, well, we didn't want to name it, King John and all that stuff, because that's not popular, that's not going to sell. Therefore, we're going to name it this and use that as an excuse to talk about these issues that are actually more interesting. And kind of like that, Lord Mayor's show, where we had this random Robin Hood turn up which was not relevant. Who was not relevant to any.
Which was also written by the same author.
Yes, exactly.
So it's literally Munday going, "Hi, I've got some Robin Hood stuff. Would you like it?" And the Lord Mayor says no.
Well, you're getting it anyway.
And he got it anyway. It's just not as part of the main procession. Grudgingly, Munday insists that it happens whether anyone wants it to or not. Oh, the joys. I must remember to make sure that link to that specific Lord Mayor's pageant is also part of the show notes. Note to self he makes. All that remains, however, we have run out of time. Thank you very much to all the wonderful readers. We continue having lots of fun with this particular play. We're having so much fun. But all that remains, thank everyone. Thank all the readers for all their works. And goodbye. We'll frolic with the nuns of Leeds.